Hey, Slot Shady Buckaroos, how the heck are you? Wasn't going to do a video today, but then decided to go ahead. Bear with me while I check something real quick. Why do people say bear with me when they almost never have a bear with them? I've always found that very interesting. But I digress. Never mind. My apologies for the frivolity. Anyway, anyway. So I was experimenting with something earlier, and I thought I'd take it just a step further, and then we'll do a beer and cocktail pairing. As I'm trying to figure out something to do for the Candid Chaser podcast on Wednesday with my friends Jersey Johnny and the Beer Samurai. So the theme is, well, our regularly scheduled show would have been on New Year's Day, but nobody really wanted to do a New Year's Day show. Imagine that. Figure somebody was going to be hung over. It might have been me. Actually, oh, shoot. Sorry about that. I was trying to adjust something and it just got away from me. I'll quit monkeying with it now. Thought I had it where I wanted it, but it moved on me. Anyway, I digress. Um, Yeah, actually, I worked on New Year's Eve, so I actually didn't drink a lot that evening. I came home and had one great big beer at 14.7%. The number 15 or the 15 Cellar Cuvée from Jackie O's. Oh my God, that beer was insane. And then I had I had the Echo Spirits, their honey barrel bourbon that I had been saving because I filled that bottle myself. So what I got going on here though is I found this masthead single origin coffee stout. I thought I drank them all, but then I found two cans and thought that'd be a perfect one to have. But then I wanted to put together a cocktail that would work with that as well. So this one is 6.9%, 30 IBU, single origin coffee stout espresso. This is probably the best coffee stout I've had in my entire life. This beer is just amazingly good. It is just, and I'm not the biggest coffee stout kind of guy, but man, when you get it right, you get it right. And this beer is fantastic. I many times before I do a video, I will pop it and pour it so I can get some pictures. I did not do that today. I want to have this right in front of you. Oh man. So yeah, so when putting together the cocktail, I wanted to, well, one, not because Masthead is out of Cleveland, Ohio. I wanted to have an Ohio whiskey. So I decided to go with the Midnight Cask Barrel Proof, a cask strength blend of straight whiskeys and port wine at 104.4. And mostly because I had this a little bit earlier at Neat and then as a Manhattan. But with this coffee stat, I wanted to try to take it in a slightly different direction. And then using the King and Dane coffee liqueur made from cold brew. Again, this is probably the best coffee liqueur I've ever had at 20%. So I used 2 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce of that coffee. But what else to add to it? So I decided to go with my cocoa bitters. So I'm going to set that down for a moment, and I'm going to focus on this beer for a half a second. Biscuits. I am off tomorrow, which is one reason I decided last minute to do a video. Did get off a little bit early today because we are bitterly cold here in the Ozarks, or at least for us anyway. So there was absolutely no action at work today. So I thought, well, let's just shut her down a little early. I came home, had a little something to eat with the wife, and then I decided to do a video, not live, but because I wanted to explore this midnight cask, and then rested a little bit. Decided, well, let's just do one live video because I normally would do a live video about 10 o'clock on a Monday anyway. So I figured, well, what the hell? Now that I've relaxed enough, earlier I didn't want to do a video because I just didn't want to hear myself talk. But after I've had a little bit to drink and got a little rest, I figured, what the hell? What the hell, man? This coffee stout is insane. You really feel those great big espresso notes. We partnered with our friends at Six Shooter Coffee to bring you this mashup of our two favorite beverages. The variant features Brazilian Corrado coffee beans, roasted dark to bring out notes of sweet toffee, dark caramel, and robust cocoa that pair beautifully with the roasty notes from the stout. So, reading that, which is one reason I added the cocoa bitters to the coffee liqueur and the whiskey, if you're following me where I'm going here, I'm basically using Manhattan as a template, but I'm taking out the sweet vermouth and adding the King and Dane coffee liqueur. This beer is crazy good, man. It is absolutely amazing. Ah, perfect here in my snifter that holds about, I'm gonna guess about 8 ounces because I think I got half the can in there. Although it feels more like a 10-ounce glass. I like to use this particular snifter for my high octane stuff usually, but I thought it worked well with this particular one, especially with that full pint can. I drink about half at a time. Ah. I encourage comments. If you have any questions or comments, please put it up there. I will answer almost anything. I say almost because every once in a while you get a peckerwood that wants to be an ass. So, unless you're being a complete asshole, yeah, I'll answer damn near anything. Anyway, so survive Christmas and New Year's. We'll see how this year goes. Um, don't want to delve into politics for this particular video, but it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. Um, but I did have a nice Christmas. I did have a nice New Year. It was just nice and calm. Just the wife and I for Christmas. I ended up working New Year's, but I was asked ahead of time if I would mind doing it, and I honestly didn't. Mostly because everybody I would want to hang out with New Year's, I did right there work. I just couldn't drink because I was working, but nevertheless. So I got home about 9 ish, and then I popped that Jackie O's Cellar Cuvée 15. That was just so amazingly good. At 14.7%, oh my lord. Then I opened up that, I believe it was 109 proof Echo Spirits Honey Barrel Bourbon. And that pretty much did me in. Between being very tired, that big beer and big whiskey, that was all I needed. I did make it to midnight though. Uh, I am glad to be off tomorrow though. I am. I worked a lot the last 2 weeks of the year, and they were very busy days. I actually didn't work a ton of hours. I worked most of the shifts that were available the last 2 weeks, even though it wasn't. Was about the right amount of hours. I guess it wasn't a little bit, wasn't a whole lot as much as I was making it out to be there. But I was working a lot, and we were very busy, so it seemed like long days, even when they were. But nevertheless, especially New Year's Eve, even though it was technically only about a 7 hour shift. It was, man, we were hopping, man, and I'm a one man operation. They were putting a hurt on old man and that boy. Uh, this espresso stout is insanely good. I'm gonna set it down for a second. I don't, because I already have my cocktail set, and I don't want it to get too warm. So I'm gonna work on it in a minute. Oh god, I had a feeling, right? I had a feeling it was going to work. This particular whiskey, the Midnight Cask that uses port wine, is just so absolutely gorgeous and so amazingly approachable at that 104.4 that I thought by adding that cold brew coffee liqueur that adds a little bit of sweetness as well, and then those cocoa bitters would really just elevate it, make it an elegant cocktail, and it really is. It's just a beautifully elegant cocktail. Oh my lord, that is brilliant. Using my, as you can see, my hollow stem coupe that my wife found at a thrift store here in town, and from what I gather, they're not easy glasses to find. So, uh, I do love. I'm a glassware junkie. I don't know why or where I get it from. Oh, that's not entirely true. My mom really liked glassware. My dad kind of liked buying glassware for my mom, but he really didn't care what he used. But I really love putting that right beer in the right glass, the right cocktail in the right glass, and finding different variations of, like, for instance, this one here, the hollow stem coupe. I love the coupe. It's probably my favorite style of cocktail glass because it's so versatile. But this hollow stem is so different. Uh, the single origin coffee stout. I love single origin coffee. I tend to buy them when I can. It's funny is I never became a coffee drinker until I was over 50. Now my wife and I have both became, neither one of us drank coffee as younger folks very often. But what I found is I don't like cheap coffee. Maybe that's why I was never a coffee drinker, because I didn't like cheap coffee. We got a nice little grinder, so I like to grind my own beans. We use a French press, so it's maybe a little bit pretentious, but not having an espresso machine at home pretentious, right? Because I don't need that. I do pretty much with occasional exceptions. I'm pretty much a black coffee drinker, but I do want to use good coffee. I do want to use that French press. Uh, but I found as I've gotten older, I do enjoy coffee, and I'm really enjoying some of these coffee stouts. Um, Especially one like this that really just seems to do everything right. I don't like flavors in my beer when it takes over the beer, when that's all you taste is that particular additive. Here we got this beautiful single origin coffee stout, this espresso you can really taste. However, it doesn't take over that original stout, and that's why this particular beer works for me. So let me get the rest of this in here. Show you that there. I guess I had more than half in there. Probably a 10-ounce glass top. And now I'm going to focus on this cocktail. I'm going to let that rest and sit for a minute. This King and Dang coffee liqueur, though, man, I kind of found that one by accident, boy, but I really enjoyed it. I just knew, well, I thought at the time, I almost didn't buy it. I thought, well, it might be nice to have a coffee liqueur around the house to do different cocktails with. So I have been enjoying that this season. And like I said, this well, it almost looks like a little bit of a ruby hue in it. It's that whiskey, man. But then, like I said, I've added 2 ounces of the midnight cast, 1 ounce of the coffee liqueur, a few dashes of those cocoa bitters. Has really upped the game, man. We've upped the game, baby. Yeah, we have. And I don't think I'll use this particular cocktail, but I'm mostly trying to test out different ingredients to come out with the right cocktail for that particular show. Mostly because I think the way my friends are leaning is different than the way I'm leaning, and a lot of that is upbringing. Whereas, a New Year's Eve cocktail for my dad would have been just Jim Beam and water, or Jack Daniels and water, or Wild Turkey and water. So growing up the way I've grown up, yeah, a champagne cocktail, a French 75, for instance, aren't cocktails that I grew up with or even knew of, and probably till I was over 40. So I want to put that right cocktail together. So I've been looking at different whiskeys, different liqueurs, different additives to come up with the right thing. And I've looked at lists, right? I've also looked at lists. What are typical New Year's Eve cocktails? I've looked at some that are more traditional and some nouveau cocktails, but I don't want to. I don't want to take one as it is written. I want to come up with my version of whatever it is that they've got going on. And I've got a couple ideas, but again, I just kind of want to play with a few things to make it right for the show, and also make it right for me, right? Because, well, I mean, folks know that I like certain things, so I don't want to come up with a cocktail that is so far away from my sensibilities that it just doesn't make sense. Meaning that if for me, for somebody like me, if I were to do a very traditional French 75, that wouldn't make a lot of sense coming from me. But if I took that idea and took it to a different place, that might make some sense. Like for instance, this cocktail. I took a Manhattan. I took the sweet vermouth out. I added the coffee liqueur. Obviously, it's no longer a Manhattan, but I used that particular cocktail as a template to invent something else or to create something else, which is what I want to do for that particular show. I want to have the right deal. And a chaser means typically where we take a beer, and then we take a cocktail or a straight shot or whatever. We just things that will work together that are complementary. Um, but in the case of New Year's Eve cocktails, we've been kind of going back and forth whether it should be a beer and a cocktail, two cocktails that complement one cocktail, basically chasing the other, or maybe have a food in here that makes sense. So that's why I wanted to try this. I'm looking at various combinations too, so I have the exact right thing that not only seems like a good combination, but also makes sense for my personality. Since I am that of this particular mix, I'm the working class guy, right? So I want to make sure I put together that right combination. So I've got 2 days. I've got till Wednesday, man. So I'm looking at some different things to see what works best together. I really like this cocktail. I just don't know that it makes sense as a New Year's Eve cocktail. And that's kind of what I wanted to find out. But it's funny as I was looking at New Year's Eve lists, there's a lot of cocktails on various lists that I wouldn't have thought of as New Year's Eve cocktails, but also I looked at a lot of these lists. One had a top 40. I'm not going to mention where it was from, but it was a well-known publication. And somewhere in that 40 is a classic Manhattan, is a classic old fashioned, but also even a dirty martini. I thought, well, that kind of seems basic or pedestrian to have just a dirty martini, but maybe if you were to have a dirty martini and take it maybe a slightly different direction. So I've been looking at again just different ideas. That's why I'm thinking I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with a beer and whiskey, having the beer and then the cocktail chaser, or maybe the other way around, or just have two cocktails that work upon the other one to have the first one and the second one as that and a chaser, that second one that kind of works together, but more of a finishing cocktail than a starter cocktail. So, anyways, obviously I'm thinking, we don't care, Tom. Nobody cares, Tom. But anyway, that's kind of the idea. I just want to figure out, which is why I kind of wanted to experiment tonight because I have one other can of this single origin coffee stout. So I thought, well, if this cocktail works, it might have been more like an end of the evening, maybe not that toast cocktail, but the after the toast if you're having one more after. However, that makes me think of a different direction, though. As I say that, I typically would think we'll have the lighter cocktail first, have the more robust cocktail second. But who knows? But if you're thinking you want that for that toast at midnight, you want maybe the lighter cocktail. You might want that more robust cocktail earlier. So do the more robust first, followed by the huh. Now I'm thinking different. now I'm rethinking a few things here. So we'll see. I honestly don't know the combination I'm gonna come up with, whether it's gonna be a beer and a cocktail, two cocktails, or a cocktail or two and a snack in there. And I may end up doing a combination of all of them because I've been known to do that as well. I like to do variations on a theme, much to the chagrin of some of my co-hosts. But they've been known to do the same thing too. We're just not always on exactly the same page. But yeah, as you allowed me to talk this through out loud, I just happened to think, well, typically I would do the lighter cocktail first, followed by the more robust. But if we're thinking your last cocktail is at midnight toast, then I'm thinking I'll do the more robust cocktail first. Because this is when we're talking with friends, we're relaxing, or we're just having a nice cocktail, then we're gonna get on the dance floor, whatever it might be. But you want that lighter cocktail. I would think anyway, you'd want that lighter, crisper cocktail for that toast. So now I've got some ideas going on. Anyways, I seem to have lost everybody's interest with that last bit of information. We no longer care, Tom. So anyway, here's my cocktail. This one consisted of, let me show you this whiskey again. High Bank Distillery, Columbus, Ohio, Mr. Midnight Cask Barrel Proof, a cask strength blend of straight whiskeys and port wine. This one comes in at 104.4. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous neat. It makes an absolutely beautiful Manhattan, because of those port wine notes, but it really works in this capacity as well using this. Let me show you this liqueur one more time as well. The King and Dane coffee liqueur made from cold brew at 20% or 40 proof. This is probably, in my opinion, the best coffee liqueur I've ever had. And in my opinion, anyway, it is better than those coffee liqueur names that you know that you've always bought because that's what's been available at your store. And then I use some cocoa bitters. Anyway, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor, wisdom, and let me show you this can one more time. Masthead out of Cleveland, Ohio. Single origin coffee stout, 1 pint, 6.9%, 30 IBUs. Quite possibly the best coffee stout ever made. I really like this one a lot. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific drinker, purveyor, wisdom, and all around good guy. Sláinte. Thanks for tuning in, guys.